when you see that from the players, you see that energy from them. Where do you think the sense of, like, you hear stories of 80% of the locker room is, losing faith in the quarterback or whatever, or you see, I can't remember what one of the players today said, whoever's going to be quarterback, we're going to support them. But does that kind of feel like a contradiction to some of the reports of they've losing faith in, say, Jones? So do you think they've moved on from the way they were feeling now and have faith in whoever steps in and takes that position?
So this is there's a lot there, right? And so I'll start with this. So the 80%, like, that's a big topic of conversation. So this was from a great reporter who covers the team, Andrew Callahan of the Boston Herald. He does really, really good work. I can only speak for myself being in the locker room. Like, it's hard to poll a locker room and get a feeling of, like, okay, it's 60-40 or it's 50. Like, it's hard because everyone looks at it differently. So from my perspective, like, offensively, I can't think of too many players just based on the way they're playing as an offense that could look at the quarterback and say, I've lost faith in him, before they look at themselves and be like, so that part, to me, that's 50% of the pie.
Yeah.
Defensively, I think that's fair. Like, if I'm a defensive player, just human nature, I'm busting my tail. For the most part, I've been the strength of the team. Like, yeah, I probably have lost a little faith in the quarterback, right? Like, that would only be natural to feel that way. But I do have to tell you, I don't sense it's like there's a groundswell of, like, we got to go to Bailey Zappi or we got to go to Will Greer. Like, I don't feel that when I'm down there. So there's just, like, a lot there with a topic like that.
The last game against the Colts, obviously we all saw what happened with Mac Jones and the interception, and body language was a lot. A lot of people were like, man, he's toast, he's broken, and this, that, and the third. Being in the building, what do you have you seen Mac Jones, and what's his body language like now?
So we have seen him. So last week was obviously the bye, and interestingly enough, he was in the locker room at the days that reporters were in there, which isn't always the case, which I took note of that. All three quarterbacks were in there. Obviously saw him after the game, and that was bad, right? Like, right after the game. Today, he was, I don't want to say scheduled to talk to reporters, but he could have spoken with reporters. He's going to do it tomorrow, and I think it's not putting it off. I think it's more just like there's other stuff going on, and maybe just have a practice, let it play out, and then come out and talk. So I actually sense from him, like, it's sort of status quo right now. Like, but I have a different, I feel like I'm in the minority here, and I'm curious both of your opinions on this. So after the game, obviously I had a similar reaction to many, that terrible interception.
Yeah.
I mean, and I still feel that way.
Right.
Terrible on third down, the drive before when he missed Hunter Henry in the end zone, which I don't, that was partly, maybe it was all on Mac, maybe it was partly on the route, who knows, but didn't come through when it mattered. I think we all agree on that.
Yes.
What was interesting for me is, as I was on the plane ride coming back from Germany and I watched the game over and tried to take the emotion away from it, I saw so much bad around Mac that it was almost like, whoa, let me be fair. Let me make sure I'm being fair here. And yes, he was bad. I am not making excuses for him. That's what I keep saying, because when I talk like that, everyone says, oh, you're making excuses for Mac. No, it was bad. It was also very, very bad around him. Like, the pass blocking particularly stood out to me. Like, he got sacked 5 times in the first half, and some of those guys, they weren't competitive. And so as I processed it, my thought is, geez, as much as I thought Belichick has done with Mac, if he goes back and watches the tape,
He'd be done with everybody.
he might be done with everybody. And I was passionate last week on the show, guys, because I really felt like going after Mac was low-hanging fruit, like almost like it's the easy, it's the scapegoat. And he needs to be better. No excuses.
Yeah.
But to pin it on him, I know some people say, oh, the team has lost faith in him. Well, you know what? There's a part of me that would almost, I don't want to say lose faith in Belichick, but if he pins it on Mac after what I saw watching it over, it almost lets everyone else off the hook.
Yep.
And that's sort of why I got so passionate about it. because I felt like it was a little bit I don't want to say unfair, but a little bit ganging up on the quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, he completed 75% of his passes, and we treated him like he was, the Celtics shooting threes last night. But it's so with that being said, with this team and people nationally, locally, whatever, suggesting, hey, go ahead and tank it and try and get a Caleb Williams. What's your sense of players hearing that, thinking I should go out and lose? I got a contract to play for. I got a family to feed. 50 guys got that same mindset. How are they reacting to the noise about just going out there and just go ahead and lose? Like, how does an NFL player respond to that?
There's a lot to that topic that fascinates me. Being down in the locker room talking to these guys, they're just not wired that way, right? Like most of them, competitor-wise, that's against what's in their DNA, right? That's their pride.
Right.
That being said, another layer to this is you start to get like, hey, 2-8. I'm a free agent after the year. My ankle hurts me a little bit, like maybe there's a business decision here, to be made. So I think there's that topic of the discussion, and that's not the majority of guys, but I think that would be human nature, right? Like you get a chance to hit free agency. So I think you're battling that a little bit. But overall, how are they dealing with that? Like, I think they're generally able to shut that out for the most part and focus on, the next game and being a competitor and respecting the game.